good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to It's Naturally Nat. It's kind of a cold, rainy day today, and because of that, and I knew it was going to be cold and rainy today, I decided to make something kind of similar to a baguette for an upcoming happy hour appetizer that I'm going to have this weekend. Now, some people say it's better to bake on a sunny day. Some people say it's better to bake on a rainy day. I don't know what the story behind that is. All I know is it seems to be because whenever I bake on somewhat of a humid or rainy day, it seems like I use a little more flour and a little more heat. And it just seems like something that I want to do on a rainy day because it makes me feel better. And this particular bread that we're going to make today is a yeast bread, but it's easy, so don't let yourself get alarmed. And you can make it into the appetizer that I'm going to do another video about, which is called crostini. Okay, crostini are little slices of bread that are toasted up in the oven, sometimes with a little olive oil and garlic, and a topping on it. An olive tampenade, maybe some cream cheese, or some burrata with some walnuts and honey. But there's a million ways you can do them. And today, the bread that I'm going to make ends up being this delicious crostini. Okay, this one I got an idea for that I got it at a well, it's not really a vineyard, but it's a place that sells a lot of wine, and they have this on their snacking menu. And I didn't ask for the recipe; I just figured it out. So it is a skirt steak, or a flank steak would work, that I had marinated and grilled on a bed of sour cream sauce that has horseradish in it and bacon jam. Yum, right? The other crostini is, and I'll do videos on these toppings at a later date. This one is a lemon pesto artichoke topping. Yum, yum, yum. And you can make this yourself easily in advance. You can make the bread and then cut it into the crostini sizes like this and freeze it. This crostini I made a good 2 years ago. It's been in the freezer. All I did was heat it up in the oven and get it toasty. Made the toppings this morning. Done. Can't wait to eat this. But let's show you how to make this bread. Now, what I'm gonna offer up today is I'm just gonna make a recipe for one loaf. Now, what makes this bread kind of like a baguette or an artisan kind of bread is that it ferments for 24 hours in the refrigerator. That's the only way I've ever done it, is to ferment it. So that might be a little different to you all. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to make just the amount for one loaf. In the recipe that I'll post later down below, I haven't decided if I'll show you the whole recipe or just the one loaf, but I'm making just the one loaf today. So what I have here is a cup and a half and 2 tablespoons to a cup and a half, or excuse me, a cup and 3/4 of flour. I'm using today a cup and 3/4 of flour, again, because it's kind of humid out, windy, rainy, cold, and it just seems like I need more flour whenever it's that way. I don't know. But that's the measurement that I use. And I'm not going to use my neat glass bowls Daniel got me for Christmas. I'm going to use a bowl like this that has a lid, and you should too. I'll explain why later. Go ahead and dump that in there, along with 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. That's all it is in here. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little mix so we get the salt distributed with a whisk, right? Give it a little mix like that. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add, this is 3/4 of a cup warmed water with 1 teaspoon of yeast. Now, I use instant yeast, so I don't really need to bloom my yeast. I just do that. I don't know if you guys do that. Bloom it first, because I never know how good my yeast is, right? I keep it in the freezer in the refrigerator, but I just like to make sure that it's good each time, and as you can tell, this yeast is perfectly good. So we'll go ahead and put that lightly warmed water with the bloomed yeast in, 3/4 cup of water, 1 teaspoon of the yeast. We'll give it a mix at first. Whoops, I should have used my wooden spoon. My bad. Switch over from a wooden spoon or from your whisk, if you started off using a whisk. The whisk is okay for the dry ingredients, but switch over to a wooden spoon. Good old wooden spoon. Now it's going to be sticky. Let me show you what I mean. I haven't got it thoroughly incorporated yet. See what I mean? This is a sticky dough. Refuse the temptation to get carried away. I'm going to wash my fingers off for a minute. To get carried away with adding more flour. You're going to want to, but don't do it. It's just going to be a sticky dough. And in your bowl that has the kind of bowl that has a lid, and I like this one, get as much as that flour incorporated into the ball as you can. It's going to be really sticky and shaggy like this. That's fine. The next thing you're going to want to do is kind of an odd little dish here, but the next thing that I do is get some olive oil and spray a piece of plastic like this on one side so it doesn't stick. And what you're going to do is put a squirt on top too, a couple squirts, and put this oiled side down over the bread. So you're covering, the dough. So you're covering most of the dough like this. Okay? Then the next thing we're going to do is, now you see why I want this kind of bowl. You have a lid on it. So you've got the plastic covering the dough. The plastic is covered with the oil. So you can easily pull it off. You're going to let this ferment in your refrigerator, no particular temperature, just whatever you keep your refrigerator set at, for a good 24 hours, maybe even a little bit longer. You can go 26 or 28. Then the next thing that you'll do the next day is you'll go ahead, you'll get out a good old faithful jelly roll pan or a sheet like this. What I did is I went ahead and I covered it with parchment paper. Then get your dough out. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the refrigerator now. You'll get your dough out of the bowl, right? And you'll kind of just, before you get it out of the bowl, you'll put your parchment paper down on your sheet. So you will put your parchment paper down on your sheet. Here's my used parchment paper from this morning. And then, another odd instruction a little bit, sprinkle it liberally with some basic flour, the same flour that you used to make your dough, right? Some all-purpose flour. Don't be skimpy with it. Sprinkle it liberally on the parchment paper, okay? You got to trust the process here. That'll keep it from sticking. So that when you get done and you bake it, it's going to come off fairly easily. You'll have the oven at a really high temperature, I think. It's not one I usually normally work with, 475, preheated. Then you'll put your bread, which is on that parchment paper that's been sprinkled with flour, and you'll take one of these fancy doodads. If you don't have one of these, you can just use a razor, or you can just use a really sharp knife and score 3 long lines on it, right? These are called LAMEs. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Lamb, I'm not sure. I keep mine away from everybody put it over here where it's safe because of that razor. Put it 3 times, and you'll cut your bread 3 times like this. Boom, 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 so it can vent. Put it on here. Bake it with, I put 4 cups of boiling water in a pan, a glass pan, a pan like this, on the bottom rack of my oven, and then I went ahead and I put my dough loaf on the middle rack and baked it for about 30 minutes, and this is what I ended up with. So it's this neat kind of artisan bread, kind of like, I don't want to say exactly like a baguette, because it's not quite, but it's crusty and it's similar, okay? So to make a crostini then, so we end up with a lovely appetizer, like what I showed you with right here. All you're gonna do, super simple, is you'll take your bread knife, right? You'll cut it like this into sections. So you're cutting it on the bias, against the bias, whatever that is. You're cutting at it at this direction. Then you're going to toast it for 15 minutes in 350 oven. That's how you end up with these wonderful little crostinis and your choice of filling that you can have for an appetizer. But I'll cover that in another video. Go ahead and try making this artisan bread and making crostinis. It's not as hard as you think. It's delicious, and it's a nice thing to do on a weekend on a rainy day. So make this recipe, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.